This is WFPRLP Franklin on 102.9 FM.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for being with us. We'll open up the June 15th meeting of the Franklin Conservation Commission. Just a quick announcement before we get started that this meeting is available to be attended in person and via the Zoom platform. In an effort to ensure citizen engagement and comply with open meeting law regulations, citizens are able to dial into the meeting using the phone number 929-205-6099. And the meeting number is 819-1902-7332. Or you could use the Zoom application, and the link for the Zoom website is in our agenda. And again, the meeting number is 819-1902-7332. If you're having trouble accessing through the link, you can call in through the phone number, use *6 to toggle between mute and unmute, *9 to raise your hand. And you are also most welcome in chambers as well. Before we get started with our agenda, we'll just run through the commissioners present tonight.
Richard Johnson's here. Mark LePage here. Joe Livingstone's here.
Jeff Milne here.
Meg Hagan here.
And I'm Pat Gallagher. Before we start with our public hearings, just two public service announcements. The first and most important is that the open space and recreation plan is now live on our website. That has been I think, Herculean undertaking by our agent Bricolai, and I would encourage everyone to read that. You can access that at franklinma.gov/conservation. We would welcome your comments, and the comment period, there's a 30-day comment period that was opened as of yesterday when the plan was posted. It is a draft. The 30-day comment period is intended to solicit feedback and comments. We'll be having a public hearing on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday. It'll be at 6 o'clock
Yep,
in
6.
Town Chambers.
Yep.
And that will also be available on Zoom and Franklin TV, and another opportunity to hear more about the plan and to weigh in. But just wanted to thank Bricolai for all of your efforts on putting that together, and the commissioners for all of your efforts in being here throughout the open space plan. For those of you who have been with us, we've been going at this for the better part of 6 months, and hearing a lot of really important feedback, and that has all gone into the plan. So would encourage folks to read that and thank everyone for their efforts in putting that together. A second public service announcement for applicants and their representatives who are with us. Would just remind folks, you know, I think anyone who sees our agenda and who has seen it recently knows that we are very busy right now. And contrary to appearances, there is only one conservation agent in Franklin. Would ask everyone to please remember to be civil, to be patient with us. You know, I think we're trying our very best to process applications and to have you on your way, but there's a process, and a lot of the timing we cannot control. And I just want to emphasize that the more communicative applicants and their representatives are, and the more responsive people are, typically that means you will get through the process faster and with less of a hassle. Likewise, if people are not being responsive, or if people are, for example, saying that they are going to call DEP or call their town councilor to complain about the pace of applications, those are things that are not going to help. Those are not going to speed up the process, and those don't make our lives easier. So would ask you to work with us, to please remember above all to be civil, and that we are here to work with you and to help you move your projects forward. So without further ado, our first public hearing is an NOI on Spruce Pond Aquatic Management Program. Bricolai, my understanding is they have requested a continuance tonight.
Yes, that's correct.
Just want to confirm that no one's on for the applicant.
No.
This is a public hearing. Do any members of the commission or the public have any questions or comments for now?
Any change in status, do we know?
No.
Nada.
Not. We are waiting on a survey.
Got it.
This is one where I think, we have, to put my thoughts on the record, I think we've been working with them for some time. Typically we don't push applicants along, but this is an application that resulted from what could have been an enforcement action, but was instead an after-the-fact filing. So I think if you wouldn't mind, Bricolai, when you reach out next, just to emphasize that time is a little bit more of the essence here. We'd like to have an understanding of when the applicant will be getting back to us and to Beta.
You got it.
Jeff, can I have a motion to continue this one?
Certainly can. Mr. Chairman, I'll give you a motion to continue the NOI for the Spruce Pond Aquatic Management Program to June 29th at 7:01 p.m.
Second.
Richard?
I approve.
Mark?
Vote to continue.
Jeff?
Vote to continue.
Vote to continue.
I vote to continue as well. So Spruce Pond is continued to June 29th. Our second hearing is an ANRAD for 1 Paddock Lane. Bricolai, my understanding is they have also requested a continuance.
They didn't request a continuance, but I also haven't heard anything from them nor received anything from them.
Is
So
anyone from the applicant on Zoom tonight?
I don't see anybody.
Did you end up having the walkthrough last
We
week?
did. Jonathan actually led it for the most part, but we did end up extending the BBW boundary out quite a bit on the, what would that be? Trying to orient myself on the western side, and then also on the eastern side, so it has grown quite a bit. They were going to survey those flags, and then general process is I will get an updated plan. I haven't received any of that yet.
Okay, so presumably that's what is.
Yeah, so that's what should be forthcoming, but I have not heard anything,
Okay.
which is, I guess, a theme.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Bricolai. This is a public hearing again, if any members of the public or any commissioners have any questions. Point in time? No? Good? All good. All good? Okay. So, Jeff?
May I ask a question?
Oh, you may?
My name is John Detterman. This matter has been continued for several meetings. I'm just curious from a procedural perspective, does it remain open until what would cause it to become closed, I guess?
So it'll be, so just to step back, the subject of this application is that the applicant is looking for us to confirm the current delineation of the wetlands on their property. So they're going through the process, and we had a site visit with Bricolai and with John Nero, our consultant with Beta, on I think June 8th. So it's going to be a little bit of time for them to revise their survey and update that based on the results of that site visit. But you know, once we are comfortable and once Bricolai and John are comfortable with the delineation, then we'll proceed to vote on approving that. And you know, we're kind of going on their schedule right now. But there's no specific time frame that necessarily needs to happen in.
I think, if I may, I think the question really was procedurally, can meetings be basically continue forever? And theoretically, the answer is yes.
Theoretically, yes.
Yes.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that, Jeff?
So the question is, can meetings be continue forever? And theoretically, the answer is yes.
Thank you.
Jeff, can I have a motion to continue this to June 29th?
Vote to continue 1 Paddock Lane, the ANRAD for 1 Paddock Lane to June 29th at 7:02 p.m.
Second it.
Second. Richard?
I vote to continue. I vote to continue.
Vote to continue.
Vote to continue.
Vote to continue.
And I vote to continue as well. So 1 Paddock Lane is continued to June 29th. Next up, we have a continuation of an NOI for Maplegate Solar North.
They submitted some updated stormwater information reflecting Beta comments from the planning board. Since that is in jurisdiction, I suggested that John come and present that to you. However, we're still waiting from a Beta peer review letter for conservation. They only just wrapped up site visits this week, so this is more just a keeping pace and making sure you guys are at the same understanding as planning board, so we can move together.
Okay.
Excellent.
John,
Anyway, John.
Do you want to give us an update just on that new material?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be very, very brief. For the record, John Cusick with Bowler Engineering. I'm here with Allison Fennell as well. And as Bricolai has stated, she's absolutely correct. As far as the process going, we're going through Planning Board and Concom at the same time. As part of the conservation process, I know Beta Group and Jonathan and his team have gone out and have just recently visited the site to take a look at the resource areas. I think it was earlier this week and towards the end of the week prior. So that has done, and I think they're just analyzing the data at this point. I don't want to speak for them, but the site's been done, but I don't think they've fully analyzed it yet. We're currently going through the planning board process as well. And as part of that, we received a comment letter from Beta Group just on the storm, on the planning board process, which referenced the stormwater. As usual, it was a very, very thorough letter. We appreciate the review. We have since made the response to comments as part of that, and we submitted that to both planning and conservation. Long story short, there's really not a lot of changes coming out of the letter. It was just a bunch of housekeeping items, talking about engineering type stuff relative to cover type underneath the panels and things along those lines. So we've rerun the stormwater calculations and provided response to comments associated with that. So that was just recently submitted to this commission. You would not have had a time to take a look and review that prior to this hearing, and we understand that. We're hopeful that Beta has that information, and we'll be reviewing that, and we're able to answer any questions that they may have through the process, with the hope that the next hearing we come before you, the engineering comments from a peer review process would be reviewed from the stormwater side of things. The one comment that I think we're probably, it's more of a planning board comment, but the one comment just had to do with some test pits in the proposed basin that we're constructing. Right now, we can't really dig those basins because it's in the middle of an active fairway. So we're looking to condition that would dig those test pits and make sure that the data is exactly where everybody wants it to be as a condition, which we've done before when we have buildings and some impediments. So we'd want to review that with Beta. But beyond that, I think everything that they've asked for and commented on, we didn't have concerns addressing. So with that, I can certainly go into a lot more detail and review some of the comments, but I suspect the commission probably isn't interested in hearing that at this point.
Anyone have any questions for now? John Nero, anything else to add, just based on your review?
No, I would just add in that John is correct. We went out to the site for 2 days, covered a fair amount of ground, reviewed all the boundaries of the wetlands that were on the plan, wrapped that up earlier this week. So now we're just kind of debriefing and writing up our review letter, and we'll get that over to the commission, the applicant, as soon as it's ready.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any questions from the commission?
All good.
Good. Are you finding many golf balls while you're out there?
You'd be surprised how many are just in every wetland everywhere, that and tires. They have their own indicator status. Like Michelin is upland, Goodyear is probably obligate,
None of those are mine.
That's good.
Some of them are mine. This is a public hearing. If any members of the public have any questions, you are welcome to ask them now. Great. Hearing none. Mark, can I have a motion to continue to the 29th?
You bet. Motion to continue the ANRAD on the Maplegate Solar North until June 15th at 7:03.
29th,
Oh,
sorry.
I'm sorry, 29th, yeah, I'm reading nothing.
No, that's my bad.
June 29th at 7:03.
Second.
Great. Richard?
Vote to continue.
Vote to continue.
Vote to continue. Vote to continue.
Vote to continue.
I vote to continue as well. John Allison, thanks for being here. This is continued to June 29th.
Thank you all, and Jonathan, if you have any questions as you go through your process, please reach out, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Will do.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next up, we have a continuation of the NOI for 2 Elm Street.
Do you want me to give the update?
Yeah. Why not?
Okay, so I did receive, Karen was able to go back out. I only just received an updated plan at 2 today. They did just request a continuance because Karen and I still need to meet. But I just wanted to reflect the boundary changes. So at flag 3, the wetland is 2 feet 10 inches into the slope. Flag 4, it's 6 feet 11 inches, and flag 5 is 2 feet 7 inches. So I think going forward, and Pat and I, we've talked, and I still, like I said, I still need to connect with Karen, but I think it would be a replication sort of scenario instead of having him actually remove the slope. So, something for you to ruminate on.
I'll be happy to hear
Any rumination that anyone has at the moment? Just again, this is a public hearing. If any members of the public have any questions or comments, now is the time to share those. Meg, can I have a motion to continue this to the 29th?
Motion to continue the NOI for 2 Elm Street to June 29th at 7:04 PM.
Second.
Richard?
Vote to continue.
Vote to continue.
Vote to continue. Vote to continue.
And vote to continue.
I vote to continue as well. So 2 Elm is continued to the 29th. Next up, we have a continuation of the public hearing for 100 Financial Park. Is the applicant or their representative on with us?
They requested a continuance, but I did ask Jonathan actually just to speak real quick because we did get their peer review letter. I haven't had a chance to review it, so I'd actually like to hear it.
Oh.
If that's okay.
Jonathan, floor is yours.
Sure. Thank you, Pat. And Bricolai. So we wrapped up both the, on-site review of 100 Financial as well as the regulatory review of the filing. Without going through every comment, I'd say it was a relatively straightforward review. It is a redevelopment of an existing developed site. Administratively, there are a few things missing from the filing that the applicant, we anticipate, can easily provide: construction schedule and sequence, survey benchmark, things of that nature. One important plan revision we did request is showing the buffer zones, both local and state, on all plan sheets. Especially, and this relates to one of our landscaping comments, it was difficult to discern, since the landscape sheets do not show those jurisdictional areas, if every planting proposed within areas jurisdictional to the commission are native. So once those are added to the plan, we can confirm that. But the applicant has been notified as well that if they find anything that's non-native, they should replace it with a native planting. In the field, we reviewed the wetland boundaries out there. Flagging was generally still present. Areas where it wasn't present, it could generally be discerned by looking at conditions in the field compared to the existing conditions plan. There were a couple of areas we're recommending the boundary come up gradient a bit based on hydric soils and hydrophytic vegetation observed up gradient of the flags. There was also one stream that we observed interior to a wetland that was not flagged, but we just asked that, since it is an interior stream, the applicant do at least confirm that it is intermittent and not perennial and would not create any riverfront area constraints on the site. We also saw in presumably intermittent stream that was flagged by the applicant. However, it just had flagging down the centerline thread of the stream. So we've just asked that they establish bank boundary flags on both sides so that the buffer zones can be accurately offset from those resource areas. There was also a bit of work proposed in the 25-foot no alteration zone to the pond, a stone dust walkway. So we have requested, just as a administrative matter, to submit a formal waiver or variance request for that. And at that point, the commission can deliberate on the issuance of that variance. Other than that, the stormwater review is going on concurrently with the planning board at the moment. The site, without getting into too much detail on the technical aspect of it, still needs a bit of work in the way of revisions in order for the site to come in compliance with the stormwater standards, but the applicant has been given a copy of our stormwater review as well. So we'll await those comments and keep the commission up to date as that continues through the planning board. Happy to take any questions if anyone has any.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.
Hey, Jonathan, a couple questions. So does the change in the wetland boundaries that you're looking at impact their development plans at all?
So, I would say there was one area where it was, we observed, both hydric soils and hydrophytic vegetation. A bit of a ways up gradient, I would say. It doesn't create any scenario where they're now proposing fill of a wetland, but it's more so just ensuring that they capture those areas and then revise their buffer zone offsets accordingly, so that then we can determine, say if there's additional work within the 25-foot and alteration zone or anything like that. But it doesn't look like any case where something was just totally missed and they're proposing a structure within a wetland.
Thanks. And the stone dust path, is that totally new? Is that a brand new addition to what they've got going on there? Or is that-
Yes, my understanding is that is a new crushed stone aggregate / stone dust pad. And that's to what's called the L series pond in the center of the site. So without getting too far into it, that's a case where it is historically, a stormwater feature of sorts. There are a number of existing outfalls that contribute discharge of runoff from developed areas into it. But it does technically meet the regulatory definition of a pond. So it would have the associated 25-foot alteration zone.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
No, that was great. I'm looking at their letter now, so that was stimulating. Thanks, John.
Thank you, Jim.
Problem.
Richard, can I have a motion to continue 100 Financial to June 29th?
Motion to continue the NOI for 100 Financial Park to June 29th, 7:05.
Second that?
How do you vote, Richard?
I vote to continue.
Vote to continue.
Vote to continue. Vote to continue.
Vote to continue.
I vote to continue as well. So 100 Financial Park is continued to the 29th. Next up, we have 15 Liberty Way, and this is, I think, the first night for that hearing. So we'll open the hearing for 15 Liberty. Is the applicant or their representative with us? Had you heard from them whether they would be?
No. You got it, Pat. I'll already answer you. Yep.
Okay. Why don't we table this for a few minutes and just see if they're a little late on Zoom, since we have a couple other public hearings.
That's
So,
fine.
So we'll hold off on.
Do you want to do Echo Bridge first?
I think so, yeah. Let's move ahead and we'll come back to 15 Liberty. So 10 Echo Bridge Road, also the first public hearing, so we'll open that. Is the applicant or their representative with us?
They requested a continuance after a discussion today.
Okay. Doesn't seem like there's anything else to talk about there. So,
No.
Jeff, can I have a motion to continue 10 Echo?
You sure can. Mr. Chairman, I'll give you a motion to continue the NOI for 10 Echo Bridge Road.
Second.
Richard?
Approved.
Vote to continue. Vote to continue.
Vote to continue.
Vote to continue.
Vote to continue.
I'll vote to continue as well. So 10 Echo Bridge Road is continued to June 29th. And now the final public hearing before we move back to 15 Liberty is for 21 Grove Street, New Style. Is the applicant here with us? Hi, how are you?
We are here.
Thank you.
Winner, winner.
Good evening, my name is Paul McManus, I'm a professional wetland scientist with Ecotech. With me is Tracy Costa from Verdantis. Tracy's a licensed site professional dealing with this filing. As you can see up on the screen, this is a small piece of property that's owned by the town. You can see on the bottom of this image is Mine Brook, which flows along the bottom edge of the site and then makes a turn to the north around the back of the site. Mine Brook, as I'm sure you know, is a perennial stream. It is almost entirely contained within old stone-lined walls. So this is a piece of property that was a former industrial property back to the 1800s. As I said, it's owned by the town of Franklin. What's before you is a request for determination to do some additional environmental testing on the property. There's been some environmental testing, there's been some remediation. Tracy is leading that investigation, basically to fill in some data gaps there and make sure that the property is up to snuff in terms of being protective under the Mass Contingency Plan regulations. Those regs require that it be protective of health, human safety, and the environment. So what's proposed is, as I said, testing of the site, which will include test borings, monitoring wells. The site, most of the site is mowed and can be easily accessed. If you look down at the bottom of that image, I have a call out where there's a proposed limited vegetation cutting area, that red highlighted area. Within that area, there's a little bit of vegetation. It's some poison ivy, some bittersweet, some other invasives in there. Doesn't require wholesale clearing, doesn't require any tree removal, but just some limited clearing to allow a small drill rig to get back in there around that building to be able to do the testing. In addition, there's proposed some sediment sampling, which would just be by folks, putting on some waders in the brook entirely by hand, no equipment access in the brook. So we filed a request for determination. Under the state regs, most of what's proposed is categorically exempted. Your bylaw doesn't have those strict exemptions per se. And technically the limited vegetation removal is not technically an exempt activity on its own. However, we believe that, due to the limited scope, and there are some photos attached in the filing, but it's very limited scope, and we felt it was appropriate to seek the negative determination. I will point out, I should have earlier, in that picture, you see the green call out on the lower right part of that picture. There is a little area of bordering vegetative wetland that bumps off the channel. That's the only such area of VVW on the whole property. Nothing is proposed there. That's in a depression that, for whatever reason, historically was left. It's obvious that much of the site was filled. But it sits at the bottom of a depression. There's a fence around it, and we've outlined in the red dashed line the limits of the proposed investigation, which are not in there. So the work is in the buffer zone. It is in the riverfront, but we believe it won't alter the resource area in a substantive way.
Great.
So,
Thank you, Bob. Brigalow, any initial feedback, thoughts?
Yes, so the only two that I had, and one I'm going to answer actually a question that maybe some of you may have. Typically, when we're going this close to resource areas, I think that I advocate for flat matting, or to ensure there's no soil compaction, but because of the size of the drill rig, it's really, you just drive it down. I'm not too concerned, which is why I'm not advocating for that. I know, Paul, you mentioned some rutting, and I don't need to tell you this, but just if that can be smoothed out at the end when we're coming back out, and then just really making sure that none of the Japanese knotweed goes into Mine Brook and mobilizes further.
Yeah, we did. I didn't mention, we did specify that any excess drill cuttings that come up, we clearly stated those will be containerized into drums, and Tracy will manage the appropriate off-site disposal of any such material.
But otherwise, we all met out on site. Brian is actually the applicant for this, since it's the town of Franklin, so this is a brownfield site, I believe, right? Yes, it's brownfield. So I would recommend approval of a negative determination so we can chase it down.
Just out of curiosity, how long ago was this site actually in use? Does anybody know?
Tracy can answer that better than
Yeah.
I.
I just was wondering about the history, just a little bit.
Yeah, and I apologize, I don't have all the details, but it was quite a while ago, and there's been quite an environmental history in terms of what the town has done. The town's been very proactive, had received previous assessment funding from EPA to perform assessment activities, so there are a number of existing wells on the site. And congratulations, the town was actually recently awarded an EPA Brownfields cleanup grant, so this is outside of that. This is mainly to do some additional assessment, just to get our arms around the limits of contamination.
Okay, okay. Can I, a question for Riga, just out of curiosity, is there any public safety issue on the site?
It's fenced.
Okay.
It is, because
Okay.
portions of the building are collapsing, so just moving ahead in terms of remediation, the town proposed demolition of that collapsing portion of the building and implementation of structural engineering controls both prior to and subsequent to that demolition. Because as you may see, to the north of that, there's an existing commercial building
Right.
in that parcel. So no, that's absolutely
I
right.
see.
There is a
Okay.
fenced enclosure to really mitigate any
Okay, so
trespassing.
remediation is gonna be pretty.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, so,
Yeah.
but it's an awesome thing.
Okay, all right, thank
I
you.
do actually have, so, two pieces of history, because Brian has talked to me a little bit, and I'm trying as fast as I can to, find the old plot plans, hand-drawn. But the building is made out of not rose quartz, but, pink aggregate quartz.
Really?
Yep.
Really?
So
Interesting.
he told me that, and I've seen it. It's right on the corner when you go to the back, so it looks really nice. And then I can't remember what they were manufacturing, but it was as old as you just put it in the stream. So
okay.
there are the building, the original building, and the original parcel, Grove Street cut like behind it, so it was pre-new Grove Street, and then it was one complex or campus of buildings, and then they all had like walkways over Mine Brook with trapdoors, and then that's where you would just
Really?
put everything in Mine Brook and it would
Really?
just go away. Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, it's,
Okay.
I can't
Wow.
find the yellowed page.
That's going
of
back a
Parkland, but-
ways.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, it's old Franklin history for
I see.
sure, yeah,
Interesting.
so,
Interesting, okay.
there you go.
How long has Verdantis been involved? Have you been the LSP of record for some time, or just for this
more
project?
recently. So we were brought on a couple of months ago to perform the assessment activities.
Okay.
Does the town have any plans for that, Rika? Do you know?
No, but if anybody is interested in the property, they are to call Brian DeBerner, Director of Planning and Community Development.
This isn't like a Superfund site or anything like that?
No, just Brownfield,
Okay,
yeah, just Brownfield. The only Superfund site that we have is BJAT.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Great, interesting, okay.
When was the last time there was any activity on the property? As far as environmental testing in general, or?
For us, we have a permit of 2011. Does that sound right for when the wells
That sounds
will?
about right,
Okay.
yeah. So again, because there hasn't been that recent testing, it'll be good for us to just really understand those baseline conditions. It's my understanding more investigations will be performed once the building's demolished to really understand
All right.
and characterize that material within the building footprint. There was also a raceway that extended from the prior building footprint within that yellow area, that extended to the existing collapsing building. So part of the cleanup will include excavation of those contaminated materials and potentially some remedial injections to address chlorinated solvents releases within that building footprint.
Jeez.
Do you know what the contaminants are right now?
The main certainly some metals, but the main contaminant of concern is chlorinated solvents, which is pretty
Chlorinated.
typical
Okay.
in these types of industries. I know it had also been a paint factory at some point too.
Got it.
Okay, okay.
So really our
It's
end goal here is
fascinating.
to remove contamination
Just
and,
gets worse.
Yes. No, so for this exercise,
Yeah.
it's just performing the assessment, and then subsequently, the town will issue an RFP to really select and hire a qualified environmental professional to perform the EPA brownfields cleanup work. And that's, I believe, over a 4-year duration. Not that the cleanup will take that long.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Has there been any damage downriver that has been identified from the site?
I think there's been historic evidence of sediment contamination proximate to the building, but that's also the purpose of our sediment sampling, just to really understand what those current conditions are. But really, keep in mind, usually along these industrial corridors, there's a tendency for heavy metals in these river sediments, so. But I do recall there were also chlorinated solvents impacts historically in those sediments adjacent to the building, so we're interested to see if that's still the case.
So, yeah, so I guess that's a good question. Will there be testing, sort of downstream, just to see if there are things moving downstream or leaching out of the soils?
So part of this assessment is not to conduct any downstream
Okay.
off-site
Okay,
assessment
okay.
activities.
Okay.
Just as Jamie would say, risk management.
Yeah.
Back in 2011, I believe generally, like, if we're thinking of plumes, right?
Yeah.
It's fairly, I would say it was fairly identified, contained, and cleaned
Okay.
up to a point. So
Okay.
now it's more just
Okay.
investigating.
Yeah, I'm just worried about things like over long time leaching, rainwater moving out. Right.
No, and exactly, so that's the great thing, once the building's demolished, there's that opportunity to perform an additional remediation.
Right.
Thank you.
That's great.
Any other questions?
That's it for me, thank you.
Nikolai, you good?
Yes, I'm taking a deep dive trying to find this plot plan. You're good. Continue on. I will show you at the end.
So I agree with the recommendation for approval with a negative determination. First, before we close the hearing, we'll just, again, note this is a public hearing. If any members of the public on with us tonight have any questions or comments, please feel free to ask those now.
I have a question.
Please
My
go
name
ahead,
is Jim Pink. Hi, how are you? Why are we doing this? Just thought I'd ask. What's the ultimate goal?
So really, the data is fairly old, and it's important for us to understand existing conditions. Certainly, the remediation that's been planned is around the western portion of the property, but here's an opportunity for us to understand if there are existing impacts to other portions of the property. Because keep in mind, the town also has an opportunity, if hypothetically there's more contamination beyond that which is going to be addressed under the EPA Brownfields Cleanup Grant, there's an opportunity to apply for mass development cleanup funding next fall.
Community safety though, right? That's the
The
end goal, right?
Yeah.
Well, really, and to really kind of move this property forward,
Yeah,
really.
yeah.
Ultimately, that's
Okay,
definitely it.
the problem was, there was a building there with New Style. Okay, New Style went out of business. And what happened was, the building fell apart, more or less. So I believe the state came in. Okay, oh, by the way, Paul Compton and I own 20 Grove Street, so that's why I'm familiar with this, which is across the street. The state came in and cleaned it up to a point, or the feds, I can't remember. They demolished the building, okay, which had a basement, and they came in and they said, oh, the basement is so contaminated, we're just gonna fill it in with dirt, and hopefully it'll go away. Well, I'm assuming it probably didn't go away. The chemicals probably went further down in the ground than anything else. I know in the back of the property, there is a building that's falling down, okay? And as strange as it sounds, 20 Grove Street in the deed owns a right-of-way to Old Grove Street through that property. That was Grove Street until it became Old Grove Street. I don't know if you're aware of that or not.
I believe that Brian did bring that to our attention.
Okay.
And just so you understand, so there are a number of existing monitoring wells throughout the property, which include the footprint of the former building. And really the purpose of those is to assess contaminant impacts. And again, there's been some historic soil and groundwater sampling, but for us, we are planning to collect samples from those existing wells and install some additional to really fill some data gaps, and as discussed, to perform some sediment sampling too.
And again, what is the ultimate goal? Is to put up a building or something, or, I mean, just not taking all these samples and spending the money to say, oh, look, it's polluted, or look, it isn't polluted.
No. I think that the town certainly has a vision of moving this property forward. And I think that's been addressed in the EPA Brownfields cleanup grant.
Oh, okay. Just curious.
Yeah, I think basically it's unusable, right? And so you're simply trying to make it into a usable piece of property, at least for the town. That makes sense. It would make sense for the town to do that.
We have to know what the problem is before you can solve
Well,
it.
that's just, we don't know the extent of the problem yet.
Jim, did you have any further questions?
No, I'm all set. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public questions, comments on this application? Okay. Jeff, can I have a motion to close the hearing?
Sure, I can. Mr. Chairman, I'll give you a motion to close the hearing for the RDA for 21 Grove Street /NU style.
Second.
Vote to close.
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 I vote to close as well. Jeff, can I have a motion to approve the RDA with a negative determination?
Make a motion to approve the RDA for 21 Grove Street with a negative determination.
Second that?
Richard?
Vote to approve the negative determination.
Vote to approve of the negative determination.
Vote to approve.
Vote to approve the negative determination.
Vote to approve with a negative determination.
And I vote to approve as well. Thanks
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
so much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Rico Lai, thanks for your help.
You got it, Paul.
Going to loop back to 15 Liberty Way to see if anyone has joined us on behalf of the owner applicant. Hearing none, I think we'll vote to continue that one as well. Motion to continue?
Oh.
Or a question?
Continue the NOI.
You look like you had a question.
One, no. You want a motion?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
I vote to, need a motion to continue the NOI for 15 Liberty Way to June 29th. Is it going to be 7:06 or 7:07?
You can give him 7:06.
Okay, I'll do 7:06.
Second that?
Vote to
I
continue.
vote to 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 continue.
And I vote to continue as well. So 15 Liberty Way is continued. Just moving into general business, we have an MBZA application for 4 Cohasset Way, and I need to recuse from that one. Yep, all yours.
Thank you, sir. So we have a MBZA for 4 Cohasset Way. Do we have anybody representing the property? Good evening, sir.
Evening.
And if you would sign in, do we have a sign-in sheet, Tyler?
I didn't have, I didn't think that's everything. Okay.
And your name and address, sir?
I'm Robert Kaufman, 4 Cohasset Way.
Okay, thank you. And how can we help you this evening?
I submitted an application for tree removal on our property. Turns out some of the trees were within the 50-foot buffer, and I'm here to do whatever I need to do to proceed. The trees have already come down. We had storm damage back in February, had an 80-foot pine come down. Luckily, it missed the house. It was right on the lot line. And the original intent was just to have that tree removed. However, when the Tito came to view the property, there were a number of trees that they indicated. One had been struck by lightning, and others were in jeopardy of falling possibly on the house. So we ended up taking out a total of, in that buffer area, 15, 16, probably close to 20 trees. I mean, some of them were little pines. They were all in areas, yeah, if you hold that photo there, you can see the large pine laying on the ground outside the fence around our pool. But in order for them to gain access to it with their crane, they had to remove those smaller trees in front. That is all within the pool area, which was an area that had been approved, 30 years ago when we put in the pool. And, yeah, this is another view of it. So it was all within an area that had been approved. We could have removed the trees 30 years ago. I didn't want to spend the extra money at the time. And then there was another group of trees. For sure. It was right near the house. Okay, we're still on that one. So that's all within the pool area.
Okay, thank you. Brika?
It's an after-the-fact filing for something that I think would have been approved anyways. So I would just recommend approving it and sending Bob on his way. We didn't keep you too long. I lied to you. I'm sorry.
Anything from any of the commissioners?
I'm good.
I'm good.
I just have a quick question, and I'm sorry, Bob, because this isn't related to your specific project. At what point do the tree companies, I feel like we keep seeing this over and over again, where shouldn't they know if we're the
Generally,
wetlands?
they do.
Okay.
I will say generally for, I was gonna say repeat offenders, but I just mean rinse and repeat companies that come in. They know pretty well to call me, and I will say they are very honest with me. I ask every single one, is it a hazardous tree? I give them the power to tell me it needs to come down now, instead of coming before you fine folk. And generally we have a good relationship. This company, I haven't seen them before.
Okay.
Doesn't mean they haven't been in Franklin, I just haven't seen them.
Yeah.
They know now. So I think we're okay.
Okay.
So essentially, we're just looking for our approval for the MBZA.
Yes.
Okay. Anybody have any additional comments?
All good.
Nothing for me.
Do I have a motion to approve the MBZA?
Yeah, I'll give you a motion to approve the MBZA for Cohasset Way.
Second. Thank you, Jeff. And Rich?
Vote to approve.
Vote to approve.
Vote to approve.
Vote to approve.
And I vote to approve.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Should have cut them down 30 years ago.
I have a thing about cutting down trees.
Well, there's that.
I grew up on the south side of Chicago where my backyard was crushed cinder, so
Yeah, no
when I
trees.
see a tree, unless there's a reason for it, I leave it alone.
That's why we get along.
You gotta watch those big pines.
All right, have a good evening.
Thank you.
Next up, we have minutes for June 1st. Any questions or comments on the minutes?
None for me.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve?
I will give you a motion to approve the minutes from the June 1st, 2023 meeting.
Second that.
Second, Richard?
I vote to approve.
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 I vote to approve as well. That looks like our agenda.
Are we done?
OSRP discussion.
There's one thing on that.
Yeah,
That's all
discussion
it is.
items.
Yep.
I'm leading the witness here.
Oh, I have a OSRP.
wow.
Was that the
comment,
old,
but-
Oh, is this it?
Whitney Worcester
New Way?
Company.
The old New Way?
Company.
Okay.
Good, Bree.
Yeah, wow.
So there's a weave shed, the old mill, so they, I mean,
And there's the bridge.
yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then here's what Beaver Pond,
Wow.
the extent of Beaver Pond used to be.
Wow.
Wow.
Way back. So this is
Whitney Worcester
1823 is
Wow.
that date.
This is from 1823?
Wow.
18, ooh,
Wow.
is that 1820 or 19?
18.
Ooh.
Storage coal, I mean.
That's a pretty good map for
Probably heated
1820.
the whole building,
Right?
right?
Wow.
I was,
So here's a silly question. How is the pond so far away now?
Probably got filled in.
ledge.
Probably did. You're probably right. You're probably right.
We need a little extra land.
Yeah, yeah.
The back bay, right?
Yeah, I mean, think about the time.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
Yeah, look,
dilution is the solution to pollution.
there's not a problem.
Fill it in.
so is that the existing Grove Street that's coming across?
This is not this is not today, no, this is what it used to be.
Used to be. We're
So today it's like over here, I believe.
over there,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, that's correct, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
There's the railway coming through there.
yeah.
Yep, and then Brian explained it, they diverted the stream.
They had a water wheel, that's how they powered it.
Mm-hmm.
Ah,
Yeah, well, it's a mill. It's an old mill, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is back when textiles were the rage, right? Textile, right?
yeah, it's
Textiles.
Worcester, it's
Yeah, it's a textile industry.
Whitney Worcester,
Yeah.
Worsted, so.
Union
I mean,
Mill.
that's where, that's what Massachusetts was known
That's fascinating.
It's a different time.
for. Way
Yeah.
different time,
Yeah.
way different time, yeah.
Bree, could you possibly email that? Please? Just to spend a little more time with that.
Absolutely.
That's interesting, isn't it?
That's an interesting historical document.
See, that would be an interesting side, public interest piece that Alan should do. You know, they have this really interesting site. Here's some history. Old Franklin.
Yeah?
Jim didn't stay on, did he?
Now I know who I will be talking to tomorrow morning.
I'm just saying, I mean, it is kind of cool.
It's very, very cool.
Jim would have liked to see you
So
if you'd
the
seen
hope
on
is we're gonna identify exactly what the problem is and then get the federal government to help us cure it and then sell it to somebody, huh?
Yeah, get them to pay for it.
What would be very cool is if someone, somewhere, actually had items with the original labels.
Oh, yeah.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Like a wool coat or something.
Wouldn't that be cool? That would be cool.
I have two comments on that. One, when I was starting, I was 60% wetland science, and so 60% billable, and then the 40% I actually helped out on phase 1 and phase 2 environmental site assessments. And I really, really liked digging back a portion of phase 1 and phase 2. So phase 1 is, I think it's contaminated. I'm going to do just a little bit of research, and then I'm going to walk you into a phase 2, which is actually, data collecting. Is how I would explain it. You probably explain it a little bit differently as a lawyer, but it's a little bit that's why I
I think phase 1 is tell me it's not contaminated.
Yes.
Take that to the bank. Say, dear bank, it's not contaminated. You can lend me money now.
See, if it is a little contaminated, they'll lock you in for phase 2. Yeah. So, anyways, I always liked finding these drawings because you really take a deep dive into history. My second comment, and it is really it pertains to the Conservation Commission, it pertains to future thinking, it pertains to this site, but there's nothing in America that it pertains to. Japanese knotweed. Actually, in Britain, we all know Japanese knotweed, right? It releases a chemical in the soil that will prohibit other vegetation growth. And in the UK, it's especially in
Mm.
farmland, because
Mm.
now that
Mhm.
prime farmland is not viable.
Hmm.
It's interesting.
It's nasty stuff.
I just want to point out
And
that.
that's on the site?
I just want to point out that that's Whitney Wooster, right? That's the first name of the.
Yeah.
Whitney is a very, very, very old Boston family name, by the way. Very,
Okay.
and very famous. I just want to point out, I'm not sure if it's related, but I do know that is the case.
Interesting. So, Japanese knotweed can grow on a horribly
Yeah.
contaminated
Yeah, it's
site.
like the Beatles, like,
So,
it'll be around
what will
forever.
kill it? Absolutely nothing.
Right, right. Interesting.
That's scary.
One of many things that's scary about this.
Oh,
No
many,
kidding.
many, many things.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's fun. I don't mind. All right. So the only other thing that I had was, well, the open space plan. I guess I should talk into this so people can hear me. The open space plan, our public hearing next Tuesday, which you already highlighted, and then I don't know who's at the farmer's market tomorrow, but I can actually print up some stuff for you to bring. Are you at the farmer's market?
So I will be, Jeff is gonna be there for the first half, I'll be there for the second half.
Okay.
So, a couple comments from
Yes.
last week.
I have some additional ideas, but continue.
Oh.
Yes. No, I want your ideas first.
Well, not so much ideas as problems,
Yes.
problems to be solved.
Yep.
So, the setup, and unfortunately, I couldn't get there in time last week to help you with the setup. Setting up that tent, first of all, you need to transport that tent and that table.
Yeah.
So who's ever involved needs to have a vehicle, and I do not have a vehicle that can accommodate the, especially a 6-foot table. As, you know,
My plan is to drop the stuff off for you tomorrow, so,
Okay,
yeah, but continue, because I will come back to this, yes.
okay. Why don't you take it from there?
Okay, so, table is mine. The pop-up tent that we used last week is actually my neighbor's, and I feel like it would be worth us investing in one. They're only about $100, but if we're gonna be at the farmer's market every week, I feel like that's something that we have the budget to be able to.
We can't impose upon a neighbor
Every week, yeah. They're happy to lend it for a couple weeks, but I think if we can,
No restriction.
yeah, I
I'll
can
tell you
get you.
what, I've actually got a tent in my garage just like that I don't use that
Yeah,
I'd donate to the cause. I mean, hadn't been opened in a while, but
that would be,
I'd love
Yeah.
to see it go to some use. So-
could get used every Friday all summer.
So, yeah, there you go.
That'd be great.
Yeah,
Perfect.
So I can do that,
Awesome.
solve that problem.
And I don't use my table other than wrapping at the holidays, so,
Yep.
and an occasional party in between, so I'm fine with it being used as well. I know we've got the runner to go on the table, and I did the navy blue tablecloth work out okay as far as?
Yeah. We had a little bit of moisture last Friday,
We
but.
sure did. I left and then I felt really bad that I left.
Can I interrupt real quick?
Yes, please.
Roger says, and tent weights.
Tent weights, that's a good, yeah. I can get quotes
You
on
could
those
just
and-
speak up, Roger. I see you.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hi, Roger.
For the legs of the.
Thank you, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
So you really
Add
need
that to
two
my-
people to set it up and to break it down. In between.
It was fine, yeah.
Yeah, one person, I probably talked to 3 people the entire time I was there.
Okay. So I can get a quote for,
The bread lady.
weights for the tent, if we can scale the
That's a
marks,
good
that would
go
be
for
good.
It doesn't have like holes in the bottom that it can be staked in?
Well, we had stakes in there.
It's-
This one does, I can't recall with mine, so,
Yeah,
I would think so, but I'm not certain.
I think
Is
from Roger's experience, he has recommended the weights on it,
Yeah.
which I am good with.
Sure.
I did note to bring, Ben and I have an art project for tomorrow morning to paint some rocks for paperweights for any newspaper that we have. And I did
Oh,
note
that's
to
a
bring
good idea.
chairs for this time around, because I did not bring chairs for you guys for last time, so.
What was the condition of the papers that we had when we packed up?
They're actually fine, and the top 2 were wet, I
Top
took
two
them
were just-
away.
top 2 were
Everything
wet?
else is Good.
Because rain kept
Coming sideways, yep. So for content, I think we can certainly vary it every week. You know, we really focused, and I think our drive for this week should still be the OSRP meeting, the next public hearing for the 20th, and we're actually reviewing it. So I had a page for that. I'm going to laminate it in case it rains again. I feel like some of the things should be better laminated in case we have rain. So that, and then I was going to print out the page that went out with the QR code for the draft. I think that would be good to have out there too, so people can just quickly scan that.
2 of the 3 people I talked to were more interested in, wow, all these trails are in town.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I figured after we got through OSRP, that would be an awesome thing to push, but we can certainly have that there now if you think that's going to be a driving conversation.
I think more than one older lady talked a little bit with the OSRP, but the other 2 were really focused in on, wow, look at these trails.
Yeah, great.
So I am here tomorrow at some point.
Maybe. Maybe not.
That doesn't look bad.
You know,
Look at all the white
I have all the
spaces.
time to
Yeah,
change
yeah.
June 15th to June 29th. This is just a webinar for Blackstone Watershed, so I should be in this time, and then until 1. I'm actually staying in town. I'm going to lunch at Ichigo
Nice.
with my sister-in-law, so I will be at the farmer's market afterwards, provided it doesn't rain.
Yeah.
Oh, it will rain.
The
But-
last 2 have been raining.
Haven't even looked at
I
the kid
also
I think
don't know.
tomorrow's- I think we're safe tomorrow.
there. Yeah,
Likewise.
hot and safe.
Yeah.
So now, since I am in, I have plenty of things. We actually have from MAC, trifold pamphlets, like navigating the Wetlands Protection Act. I made this guide for residents to be able to check if they have resources on their property.
I have a QR code for that we
Okay,
put out last
perfect.
week, but yeah, I
That's-
love
that's
that.
better.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you at least want a single page,
Yeah.
and then you can just keep that there as an example.
Love it.
I can print the draft copy, at least so you have one copy of the OSRP, and I feel like I should at least have a copy of it. But other than that, I think that's fine.
Yeah.
Did you need anything else?
My other thought, and I'm sure you have more thoughts as well, is that I noticed that a lot of the, funny the things like you don't notice when you just go to visit and then all of a sudden you're there and you start noticing all the things, but all the signs on everyone's tent higher up that so then you know who was where. I don't think you really noticed it was conservation until you were, there was, I made a sign that was framed on the table until you were there, so maybe we can get some quotes for like a small
I
sign
can-
to put up on said
It
tent.
doesn't
I
have to
walked
be
through the
small, I can
entire
just
fair.
email Allegra.
Without
Thank
without
you.
finding us. As long as coming back, I saw Roger, and then I saw the tables. Oh, that's where we are.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, because usually, I don't know what, I don't know what your thing is like, but usually there's a top that goes over a frame.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Right, and then either on the frame or along the top, there's something that you can basically tie, something to. So
Yeah.
basically you have like some perforated holes. and
That's
maybe
how
some tie,
Roger says, yeah.
Yeah, and so
Just
just some
some
tie,
sticks.
string or whatever, or those quick ties, you basically just do it really quickly, it goes up.
Yeah.
So we've done in the past for other clubs.
So who's in tomorrow, to help me set
So
up?
I will be there tomorrow too to help you set up.
Oh, good.
Yeah, yeah, so I'll bring
I have
the
the pro.
things. Yes. Well, a one-time pro. And then I'll come back at 4 once Jim can take the kids. Yeah,
I'll try and be there for part of it too, although I don't know exactly when. But
sounds great.
I'll stop.
And then just looking forward, we're all set for the 23rd. For the 30th, I can be there for the first half, but not the second half. So if anyone is available the 30th from 4 to 6, that would be awesome. And that gets us through this month. If not, maybe that's a day we look at relinquishing and letting another organization have the space. But if you can have a look at your calendars and let me know, we can let Roger know accordingly. And that's it for farmers market stuff from my end. And this, I'm sorry, Josh, did you have any other thoughts
No.
from?
No, that's it.
Great.
Thank you for
So welcome.
organizing and keeping us all organized on that. Any other discussion points?
I have 3.
Thanks, Ray.
Did you want, Megan, do you want to give a master plan update?
Sure, so we had our first master plan committee meeting last night. It was just a.
It was short, right?
Just a short kickoff meeting. It was great. Just good to meet everybody. I think it's a great group of people on the committee that should really set a great plan for the town going forward. We got our committee assignments, so I'm the chair of the OSRP, obviously, subcommittee there, so that will be great. And I know Bricolai is going to
Attend on Zoom?
attend on Zoom when she can. So
That's
I'll
awesome.
keep everyone updated going forward, but there was no any actionable items that came out of last night yet, so I'll keep you updated going forward with that.
Thank you.
I'm sure you have an update on the draft. I have a comment, but you can go first, and I will.
For the draft open space?
Did you have a,
I don't
was
have
that
a
was
comment.
one of your discussion items?
Oh, well, we talked about it at
Okay.
the beginning, yeah. I have two, actually. Speaking of master plan, Pat, Amy is having a hard time finding a gavel. You don't use yours. I was wondering, would it be okay if she could borrow it until she can source a gavel?
I didn't even know this gavel was mine. I just thought
Yeah.
it lived here.
No, it comes up, it is yours to use.
I don't know.
Wow.
How do you know?
I'm like the scepter
your
of the
gavel.
king. I want to give that up.
All right,
I don't
you
know.
can keep your gavel.
I will, nope, tell Amy she can have the gavel.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. That's a good idea.
I told her you never used
Some of these
yours,
guys might
and
get
she
out
was
of
very
hand,
surprised.
You gotta have a thing. So.
If you had told me it was my gavel, I would have been more protective of it.
It's like, you say that one more time.
I thought the gavel just like stayed at the spot.
No.
Conservation Chairman goes postal at meeting.
No. No.
She may have the gavel.
All right.
Franklin residents.
Only if Brian promises to give it back.
Yes.
That's a tough commission.
And then second, my intern starts next Tuesday, and he is actually coming to our open space public hearing.
Great.
I let him choose, and he chose to come, so I gotta appreciate his initiative.
Fabulous.
So, yes, very excited. So you will see him, his name is Rex.
Rex.
Yes, and he is here because he wants to be, not because he has to be.
All right.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's all.
Cover this so cool.
I am very excited. We're gonna take him on a water treatment plant tour. I'm gonna take him out to lunch. I'm gonna take him everywhere. Show him
Lunch
all,
is good.
all the stops. Oh, lunch is good. I mean,
Still
that's what
easy.
I'm looking forward to next Tuesday, for next Tuesday, so. It's the little things, you know? But that's all I had. So.
So can OSRP draft is amazing, well done. Very happy with how that came out and very impressed with all the work that you put into it, so thank you for that. I'm wondering for maybe more people in the town looking at it, can we come up with like a shorter sort of interactive piece for it? Maybe just like a couple pages with like some highlights that maybe just link to the different sections. My concern is that as a layperson that opens up a 281-page document, I'm actually gonna read it.
282 now.
282 now. Thank you.
Although a lot of those pages are appendixes.
It's a lot of appendixes, absolutely.
Can I just say, we did the same thing when we did the five-year plan.
Did
We
you?
had basically a summary, a layman's summary.
Yeah, yep.
Right, because we felt no one's
Still
gonna read
could be a
this
little
thing, and
daunting.
everyone's gonna think we wasted our money on big bureaucratic nonsense if they don't
I wanna
really
read this.
understand, like, the highlights of what's in it.
Yeah.
So the scientist in me, and also the person that fully believes in transparency in government, which is why I'm here, I'm not apt to pick and choose which section to link to, but I am willing to lay out each section, and they can choose.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be the one to choose what people read,
I mean, I think
because
people
that's my
just
own
know
bias.
what's in it,
Yeah.
in
Yeah,
general,
that's
what's
fair.
in it,
That's
right?
fine.
I think
Yeah,
that's.
that's
Like
fair.
a
Again,
kind of
that's what we
flashy
did-
1 or 2
That's what we did the
page.
five-year plan, we said that,
What's
yeah,
in a
here are the
little
things.
description,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, well, we
that's-
pretty much said, like, here's the things it covers,
Yeah.
right? And in general, a very, couple, just a small paragraph about what is that thing,
Yeah.
right? And then it said, and that's highlighted, in detail, in pages X to X, right? So at least you know what is that, what it is. So now I don't have to like go through the entire document, not really understanding it. And the thing is that
when people pick up something very large, just psychologically, it's like, I don't
Yeah, it
know,
looks
like that.
overbearing.
Right, so you kind of put in little bite-sized pieces.
Yeah, yeah.
Snackable.
Snackable.
Sorry, I had this marketing guy I worked with for years, and that was his word. We have to make it snackable.
Like
It's not a
bite
bad
size is
one.
always the,
It
yeah,
probably
same
gets a little
difference,
old.
yeah.
I thought it was hysterical.
Snackable
Like
bite size.
Lunchables.
I know, that's the first thing I'm thinking, was like little cheese wedges or something.
Yeah, like a piece of pepperoni and a cracker, yeah.
We have to make it snackable.
I do recognize how busy you are, so
If someone wants to write the sentences, I can
Yeah.
extract and upload. That's fine.
I can have a go at it and then you can change whatever you feel you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We have a 3-day weekend. Monday's a holiday, and I'm very happy to. I love Franklin. I love all of you, but I'm very happy to go home. So, thank you.
As you should.
Megan.
As you
For
should.
a little bit, it's gonna-
Juneteenth. Juneteenth. So Sunday is Juneteenth, but it's
Just
observed.
right.
Monday's the observed.
Can I get just a couple of very, very quick updates? So the last MAC board meeting was earlier this week. And really it was business as usual, but there are a couple of things. One is that after 15 years of not doing so, they are going to be raising the costs of the classes and the workshops. They haven't raised their prices in 15 years. They're also moving to a brand new platform. It's very antiquated, all of the data that they have, and they have not captured data on who's actually interacting with the membership, the website, anything like that. So that all needs to be brought into, you have no idea, that's all has to be brought into like the modern century. That's gonna be a big bill. So for the first time in many, 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 many years, MAC is not going to be in the black. It's a small amount, but it's typically, it's a very fiscally conservative run organization. Actually has tons of cash tucked away like in bank pillowcases everywhere. I mean, it does actually, it's pretty, really impressive actually. They're used to like being very much in the black. So I'm just saying, so, and they're also looking into other venues for the big meeting, the big annual meeting. Right? So Devon's is probably not gonna do it because as people come back to the meeting, it's just gonna be too small to do. Right? I mean, but it's not gonna go back to the college.
What about Botanical Gardens or Botanical Hill in Boylston? That's where the EMWS conference was.
Yeah, that's a nice thing.
It was pretty nice.
Tower Hill would be nice.
They were really
That would be a
comfy.
nice place to have it.
That's a good venue.
Yeah, that's a nice place. I think that'd be great. Yeah, so yeah, that's a good idea. I'll push that idea, but that's
Got
much
a
better.
nice little cafeteria there.
Um,
Oh, really?
Could I
Oh,
just
yeah.
sneak in there real quick? We did
It's a
get
good- it's a
the
good deal.
invoice for everybody's membership,
Mhm.
which is rinse and repeat. So Megan and Mark, you will be now members of MAC, Massachusetts Association of Conservation Commission, so
Yeah, and if
FYI,
you know of any,
if you have not been already.
if you know of any rogue commissioners that are not part of MAC, you should tell them you should become a part of MAC. And only about 4% apparently of the state commissions apparently don't pay their actual dues, so,
Really?
That is-
yeah. It's not zero, it's a small amount, but it's not zero.
How much kind of advocacy and kind of regulatory work is MAC doing? Because it seems like, I don't know, just between the Supreme Court case from a month or so ago, and, you know, you had mentioned, Brika, that like even like way before that, the DEP's delineation
Yeah.
policy, that they're moving more toward the Army Corps, and
Yeah.
it seems like there's a lot of kind of regulatory things happening that MAC could have a role in.
Right, so you'll find that the board of directors is made up of many attorneys. And some have been, some of the people have been
Are there wetland
attorneys.
scientists?
Well, the point I'm making is that some of them have been involved in the development of the regulations in the state for a long time. And there are a couple of retired attorneys that have been there for a long time. So, and they're very interested in policy, I mean, big time. So I would say at least 1/3 of the meetings, which last usually between 2 and 4 hours, we talk about policies, and we have an entire section on common things that have happened, how are they gonna affect us. It was the ruling, the federal ruling about I'm losing my mind.
Sackett?
Yes,
Sackett,
yes,
yeah.
that's exactly it, yeah. We had a long discussion about that, and people were really bothered about how that would impact.
Right, well, and I think like there's some member of a lot of organizations that do, you know, more real estate development type lobbying, but it really is lobbying, and it's
Right.
like being very active with legislators, and I mean, I feel like by the same token, you know, MAC can be talking to
Mac, they do.
legislators
Yeah.
and saying, and to
They do.
DEP and to others, and saying like, here are ways that you can mitigate, you know, when, for example, the Supreme Court says, you
Right.
can't regulate wetlands
So,
anymore.
so we talked about developing a brief for that, for the administrators, yes. So, but one of the things that MAC has not done, in my opinion, very well, and I've been pushing for this, is partnering with other organizations, you know, unified voice. And they've been pretty much running alone. They see, quote, a partnership as a a funding source, basically not a policy source, communal policy source. And I'm trying to change that, because I think that they would be, I think there's a lot of partnerships in very many different areas that MAC could be a part of. And we sort of raise the awareness of what MAC is doing, my
Well,
personal.
and there are specific projects I think they could be involved in.
Yes, I agree too. I
And I
agree.
think, you know, just for one example, and this is a little far afield for Franklin, but the Long Island Bridge in Boston and Quincy, I mean, that was essentially a Conservation Commission matter that went to the Mass Supreme Judicial Court, and the question of reconstructing the bridge so that Long Island could be used again as a homeless shelter for the city, for Boston, which it was for many, many years until the bridge deteriorated. And then the Quincy Conservation Commission blocked the city of Boston from rebuilding the bridge, and they took that up to the Supreme Judicial Court. And so those are like important policy matters that I think there's a little bit of a void of, like, you know, a conservation lens to it and how they can get involved in those types of things. So.
Okay. Okay. No, I mean, if anybody has anything like that, give it to me and I will push it up.
I'm on one of the boards for a New England chapter for Society of Wetland Scientists, and we are also starved for that connection. So I think that would be great.
So, like, MAC should be working with you guys.
Yeah, I'd love that.
That's what, see, that's what, yeah. See, the problem is, I'm probably like the youngest person on the freaking board. Okay? I'm sorry, well, I mean, yeah, I think it is true.
Nick is.
Right, oh, yeah, yeah. Well, I'm just saying, it's pretty, you know, so people have been a long time.
Yeah, you need those analytics of what's going on the
So
webpage.
it just, and you get that feeling, it's kind of done its own thing, it's gone its own way, and there's a massive inertia, that's pretty much how it is. So they kind of need a break. You drop it and then go. It's like, get smart.
Thanks, Jeff.
Don Adams, a character.
But if I go, you can't leave. You can't just get me.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying, I'm just saying that I think it's gonna happen, but it's not gonna happen quick. Let me just put it that way, it's my preference. So, but, and I hate to say this, and Rika knows this, because I've shared some things with her, is that the administration, the people who administrate MAC, administrators, they're good, well-meaning people, but again, they've been there a very, very long time. So it's pretty much set in its ways, if you know what I mean. So I mean, like this, we have this, like, we created this new, I think it's this last time, we created this new group to sort of move again all of the technology into like the modern century. Oh man, that's been an interesting ride. Why do we have to spend all this money? Blah, 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 blah. I'm just saying, yeah.
I don't roll it as it work anymore.
Yeah.
Mac's a nonprofit, like 501c3, right?
Yes,
You
correct.
should get a Canvas subscription. You can get it for free. That's where I make all the stuff. Megan uses it. And that's where we made our presentation, actually for Mac.
Yeah, I don't,
And you have free marketing right there and no copyright.
okay, all right, I'll pass that up.
All you have to do is just tell them you're a 501c3.
Hmm.
We have it because I applied for you, through you.
Okay. Okay.
So, not as a 501c3, but as an organization that does not take
Right.
money.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, again, I think you just have, you have the same people for so long,
Yeah.
right? And that's, I mean, and they've been on the board forever and ever and ever, yeah. I mean, that's just basic.
A lot of inertia.
Yeah, well,
It's the kind of place where you need to open the door, throw in a hand grenade, close it, open it back up and say, how's
Okay,
everybody
well,
doing?
don't think I haven't thought that.
How you doing now?
Like, well, I mean, and to be honest, I mean, it's like, we have, and again, you know this, because I shared, that we have this person who loves to make meetings. Oh, loves them. Loves to make all these little meetings and make meetings and meetings. I'll make all these meetings. And it's like, you know, like in your calendar fills up like 3 and 4 meetings a week, and it's like, it's like, do we have a meeting, are we here to discuss how to make the next meeting? It's like, wait a minute, so it's kind of like this, right? You know what I'm talking about, right? Very, very bureaucratic. It's like, you know, it just drives me insane. Like, we don't need all, you know, come on.
The unproductive time.
Yeah.
You don't miss that.
You don't like meetings after meeting?
The meeting to prep for the meeting.
Yeah, it's
the
like,
meeting.
the meeting.
Meeting to prep for the
That
meeting?
one? Yeah,
We used to
yeah,
call those- we used to call those the meeting-bees.
Yeah.
The meeting-bees,
Yeah.
and the meetings before the meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, no, no.
Okay, speaking of meetings,
Thanks, Beth. Rated that kid.
We're having too good a
We're
time.
good.
good to go?
We're good.
Motion to close?
Motion.
All in favor?
Yes. Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, you gotta, before you
There
give
you
it away,
go.
before you give it away, you gotta, it has now been indoctrinated.
Okay.